Welcome to HortTube, where we talk all things gardening. My name is Jim Putnam, and this is a spider's web Fatsia. This is spider's web Fatsia, a beautiful evergreen shrub with this incredible variegated foliage. Spider's web can eventually reach 5 feet tall and probably 5 feet wide, so a little shorter than the typical Fatsia japonica. It's a little more compact. It's best in zones 8 to 10, but we can actually grow these in zone 7 in a very protected space somewhere up against a building. Spider's web is a little slower growing than other Fatsia japonicas, but we may still get as much as a foot of growth on these in a single season after they've rooted into the ground. Fatsia is definitely a shade-loving shrub. You can put this in a lot of morning sun and a lot of late day sun, but I would be careful with any midday sun on it. These leaves, the size of these leaves are definitely vulnerable to being burned very easily by the sun. You're usually going to see Fatsia planted just one in a space and other things planted around it. It can really take up a lot of space. These big, beautiful leaves call a lot of attention to themselves, and it looks tropical, and it's a plant that we can grow in zone 7, 8, and 9, where we can get cold winter temperatures and not kill this thing completely, which is fantastic. In the more southern zones, in 9 or 10, you could use this as a container plant for sure, but in zones 7 or 8, it really needs to be a foundation plant and tucked away somewhere, because anything below probably 10 degrees would significantly hurt this plant. Spider's web Fatsia has this incredible variegation in the foliage, and every leaf is different. It has this just white spotting around the edge, but like I say, you'll see a lot of variation in it, and it creates a lot of color contrast on itself. Fatsia bloom in the late summer or early fall with clusters of little off-white flowers. They're quite nice. It usually takes several years of being in the ground before you'll see the flowers on one. I've included videos on planting in the description of this video. The thing you're going to need to know on Fatsia, it's not going to want to sit in a wet space. You're going to need to mound this thing up a little bit. Make sure you're using chunky planting materials like this pine bark soil conditioner, and don't over mulch it. If you overwater this plant, you'll definitely damage it. The new leaves on spider's web have more of the variegation on them, and you can get a lot more of that by fertilizing them, and I definitely use a slow release fertilizer in the mid-spring. You definitely do not want to fertilize this plant in mid-summer, because it'll put on a lot of new growth late in the summer. It will definitely be damaged. Once your Fatsia is established, it can be pruned anytime you need to. Sometimes I'll go through and just break the top out of one of them. They're really, really super easy. They rarely have more than 2 or 3 spiky pieces, so pruning is very, very fast and easy. Another nice thing about Fatsia is they have very few pests. We really aren't going to get any chewing insects on these, and deer tend to stay a mile away from them. One thing you definitely would end up with is root rot if the soil wasn't well draining or you didn't amend the soil to be well draining. One issue you can have on Fatsia, if you're in zone 10, this can actually be an invasive plant. They can sucker from the base, actually seed themselves, and kind of take over a space pretty quickly. We really don't have that problem in the northern zones. The winter damage on them tends to slow that down. And so what are you waiting for? Even you can grow the shade-loving, tropical-looking spider's web Fatsia. Thank you for watching my video, and if it was helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for future videos. Also, comment below with any questions you have about Fatsia. Thanks again.